What if the opportunity that could change your life is the very thing fear has convinced you to postpone? Not because you're lazy, not because you're unqualified, but because fear has been whispering in the language of logic. Wait, prepare more. Timing isn't right. And it sounds wise, but what if it's sabotage? Because some people don't lose years through failure. They lose years through hesitation, through not yet, through waiting for certainty that never comes. And if you've been calling delay strategy, I need you to hear this. Sometimes the voice protecting your comfort is the same voice costing you your future. Today, we're exposing that voice.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Welcome to the Mindset Manual, the place we talk about the hard truths most people avoid, but the truths that can actually change your life. I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. And today we're talking about one of the harsh truths about success. This is episode 7 of my 8-part series on the harsh truths about success. I want you to follow me on this journey of real life experiences because I've lived this more than once. I talked myself out of opportunities that I should have taken advantage of. I call fear being responsible. I've delayed my moves I should have made, and maybe you have too. So let's talk about it. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and share this page with somebody who needs to hear it. Now let's get into it. Fear often sounds like being responsible. Fear rarely says, I'm afraid. It says, let me wait. Fear sounds mature. It sounds cautious. It sounds intelligent. And that's why it fools ambitious people like you. Because high performers don't struggle with laziness. They struggle with over-calculating, analyzing, rehearsing, delaying. And sometimes that delay has nothing to do with wisdom. It's fear protecting your comfort. There's a difference between thoughtful planning and hiding. Fear often sounds like it's being responsible. Fear rarely says, I'm afraid. It says, let me wait. Fear sounds mature. It sounds cautious. And that's why it fools ambitious people like me and you. Because high performers don't struggle with laziness. They struggle with over-calculating, analyzing, rehearsing, delaying. And sometimes that delay has nothing to do with wisdom. It's fear protecting your comfort. How fear disguises itself. Fear wears many costumes. It shows up as perfectionism. I'll lunch when it's flawless. It shows up as comparison. I can't compete with them. It shows up as false humility. I'm probably not ready. It even shows up as logic. The market might turn. People might not respond. What if it fails? But let me ask you, what if it works? Fear almost never asks the question because fear is obsessed with protecting you from loss, not helping you pursue growth. Here's my personal lesson about fear, something I learned. I've had moments where I thought I was being strategic, but I really was hesitating, holding back my vision, waiting too long to act, second guessing moves I already knew I had already planned out and I knew would work. But I learned something. Clarity rarely comes from over planning. It comes from action. Movement creates understanding. Momentum creates confidence, but fear wants confidence first. Growth says, move anyway. Here's the cost of calling fear wisdom. Fear doesn't usually destroy dreams dramatically. It delays them quietly, and delay compounds. One postponed opportunity becomes 2, becomes years, become regret. And people call it circumstances when it was really indecision. How to test fear versus wisdom. Ask yourself, is caution protecting me or preserving my comfort? Am I gathering information or am I stalling? Is my concern based on facts or imagined outcomes? Am I preparing or avoiding commitment? That self-audit can expose a lot. Courage isn't certainty. Courage doesn't mean feeling ready. It feels uncomfortable, uncertain, exposed. That's normal. You don't wait for fear to disappear. You move when it whispers. It's time to replace delay with action. When fear shows up, make a move. Take the next step. Make the call. Send the proposal. Publish the idea. Test the offer. Go ahead and start before you feel 100% complete, because action reveals the truth. So let me leave you with this. Fear doesn't destroy dreams loudly. It delays them quietly, and a quiet delay can cost you years. Don't let logic be the language fear uses to keep you small. It's time for you to start moving, testing, adjusting, and growing. If this episode has helped you think differently, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'm Myron for the Mindset Manual, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. I appreciate you tuning in. Next week, we're going to cover episode 8 of the harsh truths about success. As always, stay balanced, stay focused, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Fastest way to lose control of your life is to react to everything. Here's a harsh truth most people never learn. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Some distractions are designed to pull you off your purpose. And every time you react to something small, you may be creating a setback much bigger than the original problem. One emotional response can cost you your peace, can cost you your focus, can cost you your relationships, cost you your opportunities. And sometimes the strongest move you can make is to not move at all. No response, no reaction, no explanation, just discipline. Today, I want to show you why ignoring the wrong things might be the life hack that protects everything you've been trying to build.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Welcome to the Mindset Manual, the place we talk about the hard truths that most people avoid, but the truths that can actually change your life. I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. And today we're talking about a skill that will elevate your mindset, your business, and your peace instantly. Learning when to say nothing. But right now, I need you to say something by hitting that like and subscribe button. Now let's get into it. Reaction is a loss of control. Every time you react emotionally, you're giving someone else control over your behavior. Think about it. Somebody sends a message, you instantly respond. Somebody disrespects you, you feel the need to prove something. Somebody doubts you, you rush to explain. That's not power, that's emotional dependency. Because now your mood, your actions, your energy are being dictated by something external. As a man, as a father, as an entrepreneur, you cannot afford that. Not everything deserves a response. Here's a hard truth. Everything does not deserve your attention. But we live in a world that conditions you to respond to everything. Notifications, comments, opinions, negativity. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your entire day reacting instead of building. Let me say that again. Reacting instead of building. Every time you engage with something meaningless, you're stealing time from something meaningful. And most people don't realize ignoring is not a weakness. Ignoring is discipline. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have because silence does a few things. It protects your peace. It preserves your energy. And it forces other people to sit with their own behavior. See, when you don't respond, you don't give fuel to the situation. You don't escalate it. You don't validate it. You let it die. And a lot of things in your life don't need to be solved. They need to be starved. I'll tell you about some things that happened in my life. A story about how I was beefing with some of my friends, and instead of staying quiet, I fed into some of those emotions. I said things that I probably shouldn't have said when I should have just kept it to myself. But because I'm working on my emotional intelligence and I'm building it, things happen. People know your triggers, especially people that's known you a long time.
They know how to say things to trigger you to get a response from you. Typically, I'm the calmest, coolest person in the room. It's hard to get a rise out of me. I've had relationships with women that struggled being with me because it was hard to get any type of toxicity or anger out of me. Yeah, I may be angered in some kind of way of something they're said, but I wouldn't allow them to know that. I would control my power, and that's my emotional intelligence. I've been very good at controlling my emotional outbursts and my reactions to people. But somebody that you care about, somebody that's known you for a long time, somebody that's set on getting a reaction out of you, they know how to hit your triggers, and it's your responsibility to control those triggers. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We all have our own feelings. So there's going to be those moments where somebody triggers you and you're going to react. Don't be hard on yourself for doing that. I've done it. I've reacted when I knew I shouldn't have. And then I'll beat myself up for days and weeks later saying, I shouldn't have even reacted. I shouldn't have fed into it. It's just about the emotional intelligence. That's why we're here on this podcast, trying to get stronger and stronger emotionally so we can handle any situation when it comes up like that. But, I was beefing with some of my friends over something really small, but as men, it became this long, drawn out thing, tit for tat, on text messages, through friends or through group chats and things like that. In reality, the whole time, even though it took us 3 years to reconcile, I should have just stayed silent. I shouldn't have said anything. Every time some negativity came my way, I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just sat back. And I think that beef would have ended a lot sooner if nobody had have said anything negative toward the other person. We could have eventually crossed paths and talked it out like we eventually did and resolved that, because I reacted, they reacted, I reacted to that, they reacted to that. We just kept going back and forth with reacting to each other. And because, like I said, at that point, once you say something, once somebody says something to you and you say anything back, now you're emotionally invested in that drama. You've given some power away and you got to try to get it back. That's just nature. That's just how you work. You're going to try to pull that power back from them saying something to you and making you say something back to them. You're going to try to rush and get it back. Don't say anything. That's the easiest way to avoid being drained or giving away your power. Just don't say anything. Let that person sit in whatever they said to you. Why aren't they saying anything? Why aren't they saying anything back? I said this. I know that's a weak spot for them. You're stronger than that, and let them figure it out. Eventually, they'll come back around and realize they messed up, and now they'll be sorry and want to talk to you about it. So it's just about practicing this stuff. And this is what this podcast is about. That's why I ask you guys to tune in every week. I'm just talking about different things, life experiences. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm a real person, a father, entrepreneur, and a student of life, because I've done so many things. I've been in so many different uh, businesses and so many different situations. Right now, I'm doing this podcast. I'm 50 years old. So I've experienced a lot of different things, and I want people to watch this and learn from it, especially younger people, 25, 30. Don't make some of the mistakes that I made, and avoid some of these setbacks by being emotional intelligence and not making some of these mistakes. And you can better your life and better your business, because now you have a focus and somebody like me that can tell you real life stories. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to help you. And so you can help the next person, and so on and so on. It's called paying it forward. You pay it forward to the next person. I pay it forward to the next person. And it just keeps going on. The circle of karma is blessings keep coming your way. And that's what it's all about. And that's why I'm here. So let's continue on with the lesson, and we'll pick up there. Why people struggle to ignore things. Let's be real. Ignoring is hard because your ego wants to respond. Your pride wants to defend. Your emotions wants to be heard. But discipline says, this doesn't deserve my energy. And that's the difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck. One reacts to everything. The other chooses carefully what deserves attention, because the attention is currency, and either you're investing it or you're wasting it. When to ignore versus when to act. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about being passive. This is about being intentional. There are moments when you should respond, when something aligns with your purpose, when something requires leadership, when something moves life forward. But everything else, distractions, negativity, petty conversations, people projecting their insecurities onto you, ignore it, because your focus should be on building, not on battling. Let me leave you with this. Every reaction costs you something: time, energy, focus. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your life responding to things that never deserve your attention. So the next time something tries to pull you out of your zone, pause. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? And if the answer is no, don't react. Don't respond. Just ignore. Because your peace is too expensive to be given away for free. Thank you for tuning in to the Mindset Manual with me, your host, Myron Williams. If this message hit you hard, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. I would love to have them join the community. So until next time, stay balanced, stay focused, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Nobody talks enough about the emotional cost of never stepping away and taking a vacation. How constant pressure hardens you, makes you less present, less creative, less joyful. And one day, you wake up successful on paper, but empty in spirit. That's not winning, that's erosion. If your business can't survive you taking 7 days off, you may not own a business. You may have built a trap.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
How's it going, family? I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. Welcome back to the Mindset Manual. This is where we don't just break down motivation, we build structure, discipline, and emotional intelligence, because success isn't random, it's intentional. And today we're talking about something every entrepreneur needs in their life: vacations. If you don't step away from your business will eventually start taking from you, taking your clarity, your patience, your creativity, even your relationships. You don't burn out because you're working hard. You burn out because you never reset. And today we're going to talk about something most entrepreneurs avoid: why rest is not a reward, it's a responsibility. Let's talk about what staying balanced really looks like. When you're building something that actually matters, clarity is everything. Balance is everything. Focus is everything. But being able to reset matters so much. When you're tired, when you're irritable, when you're not focused, and you're off balance, every little task feels like a huge mountain to climb, when reality is really not that hard. It's your body and your mind that is worn out. Your skills are drained because your mind feels like it's walking through mud. That's when the reset is necessary. We all need it as entrepreneurs. We need that reset to really be successful and to keep our motivation and our energy up so we can be successful. It's hard, I know. I'm going to share a story about myself, a true story about my life over the years of being a solo entrepreneur to having over 40 employees working in my business. Trying to take vacations, trying to find the time to reset. It's never been easy, but it's been something that I had to force myself to do because I can see the results of taking those vacations and how I feel afterwards. I remember being a solo entrepreneur a long time ago. It was just me trying to run my business. I was doing internet business where I was building websites. It was, I went to web design school, learned how to build websites and graphic design. It was just me doing the design work all by myself. But I was doing a lot of websites. I was doing a tremendous amount of websites and designing stuff. I was taking the calls, the intake for the new clients, finding out what they wanted, doing the graphics, doing the development, the coding, doing everything. If they wanted a store, I was doing the store, everything. So it was a lot of work. One man band is what it was at the time, one man band. But
doing a lot of work, I was starting to get burnt out. We didn't have the AI and all that stuff like now. So it was strictly creating from your mind, what you could create from your mind. And my designs were starting to look very repetitive. Sites were starting to look very similar because I had just been working straight through 20 sites, 30 sites in a row without taking any breaks. And so I decided, hey, man, I'm going to go out to Miami for the weekend, take some time off, and just try to get my thoughts together. And I remember the first 2 days I was down there, I was cool, got to see the beach and hang out and, go out a little bit. But then I got that email or this client saying, hey, man, I need to update on my site. I need to change some stuff. Pay you to take care of it. That was the beginning of the end of that vacation. I started to work on his website from my hotel room. Next thing you know, I was locked in for the full day. I had burnt the whole day out working on this guy's website. And I'm on vacation, mind you. So I was supposed to be relaxing and resetting. But yet, here I was working on his site, knowing I should have just been relaxing. So that was, me being a solopreneur. I couldn't step away from my business because I felt like my customers needed me, but not realizing I needed me. I needed me to be relaxed and reset so I could be better and acquire more customers because my work spoke for itself. But I didn't realize that I was young and that's just what I did. And that's probably what you do. And you're probably doing it right now when you go on vacations. As time goes on, I didn't realize that, but I knew something wasn't right. So I began to take little mini trips. 2 days here on the weekend just to get away, 3 days here just to get away, to see if I could stay away from work for more than, a couple of days without doing anything. And I started taking those mini trips. Sometime I would be in my mind like, oh my God, I need to get back to the office and get back to work. But those little mini trips actually helped me a lot to refocus myself and to just clear my mind. Sometime I would go to the mountains to a cabin and just sit out and just enjoy nature. Sometime I would go to the beach and party a little bit and enjoy the ocean. I would just do different things to relax myself. I remember over the years, I found a location out in like Boise, Idaho. It was really clean. People are really nice and the air was really great out there. And I would go out there and clear my and just enjoy the peace of that city, of a small city. And that became one of my places that I would fly out and just take a couple days and enjoy that. But I never could get into that full week away or 2 week away or month away from my business. I could never get myself to that level. Being a solopreneur, you run everything. So you have to do everything because that's everything. But when you become a business owner with multiple employees, those employees need to check in with you. So it becomes hard to step away because your employees want to check in with you. They need to ask you this. They need to ask you that. Everything seems like the house is on fire when actually it's not. They know the answers. They just need the enforcement from you to say that, yeah, it's okay. But what I did later, as I started growing in my business and being an entrepreneur, I took a 7-day cruise, like a forced downtime, being on that cruise ship. And it was one of the greatest things for me. When I came back off of that trip, I was totally refreshed, totally ready to go, just totally at peace. And I had all these great ideas and all these great thoughts and wonderful things I came up with during that time. And I was just ready to get back to it. I was anxious, but not really anxious. I was actually in a peaceful state that like when I get back next week, I'm going to relax myself for a day or two when I get back to the office. Instead of going straight back to work, I'm just going to take a day and just, unwind back in the office, get my mind, get my thoughts together, write out my task, and then I'm going to get started. So that was the beginning of me being able to successfully take a vacation without working. Now, fast forward later, years of businesses and doing different things, I taken a lot of vacations where I actually vacation without working. Yeah, occasionally, can't lie, I'm going to be 100. Sometime you're going to peep at that email. You're going to glance at that text, but you have to put the tools in place to where they don't alert you unless it's an emergency. Turn on your autoresponder for vacation. Hey, I'm on vacation until this date. I will not be checking my email or voicemail during this period. And people know when they send you that email, he's on vacation or you're on vacation, and they don't expect a response. And that's how I learned to manage my business better and take control of the situations by turning on that autoresponder, putting on do not disturb, or putting my office on away on my virtual phone system. I can set it to away where you can't reach me. Tools like that for myself, for my sanity, for my peace of mind, so I can come back stronger. But like I was saying, as I got bigger and I became a bigger entrepreneur with more employees, I started putting people in place, a manager here for this department, a manager there for that department, and let them run their departments. And when I get ready to go on vacation, I brief them on everything. We have meetings and we go through all the things that may come up while I'm on my vacation. I truly do not want to be bothered unless it's an emergency. And these are what the emergencies are. And I would give them a list. So as time went on, like just a couple summers ago, I geared up to take a 2-month vacation to Asia. And I was able to do that. Mind you, I have 40 employees, 7 different managers over different departments. And I took this 2-month vacation to Asia. I traveled all over Asia for this time, starting in Japan, ending in Thailand, and over a 2-month span. And during that period, I didn't check my email. I didn't really respond to too many messages on WhatsApp or anything like that. Only people that were able to contact me were the managers, and they actually did a really good job of not reaching out to me during that period. They handled everything unless it got to a point where they couldn't answer the question. Then they would reach out to me with a gentle message on WhatsApp, and then I would answer it. But for the most part, it was a very calm and relaxed vacation for me because I had the things in place. And looking back on that, that was one of the greatest things that I did for myself and my business, because when I came back, I was able to launch some more apps that I had on my mind. I had designed them in my head. When I came back, I was refreshed and I was ready to go. I became less irritable. I spent a lot of time with my family. So I had that part of my life that I felt like I was missing, not getting to spend enough time with them. I actually got to spend a lot of time with them. So coming off of that trip, I just felt like a new person, and it really balanced me out and allowed me to enjoy the fruits of my labor, the success of my business, by being able to provide that for my family and for myself. And so that's what you have to do for yourself. You can't burn yourself out, always working, never taking any breaks, and not enjoying yourself. And that goes into the vacations, your lifestyle, all these different things. Grind, and never enjoy it. And then next thing you know, you look up and life is over with. It's really short. That's a saying people say, life is short. It truly is. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Work hard, play hard, but don't work too hard that you don't get a chance to enjoy it in time. You keep saying, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. But that was my story. I wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope you can take that in consideration from somebody like myself, who's been an entrepreneur for a very long time. So let's get back to the lesson now. So let me leave you with this. You didn't start your business just to feel trapped by it. You didn't choose entrepreneurship to be stressed, overwhelmed, and mentally exhausted every day. You chose this path for freedom, for control, for a better life, for you and your family. But here's the truth. If you never step away, you will lose the very thing you built it for. Your business needs your vision, but your vision requires space. And sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step back, breathe, and reset. Because a clear mind makes better decisions. A rested leader builds stronger systems. And a balanced entrepreneur plays the long game. So don't wait until your body forces you to rest. Don't wait until life starts pulling you away. Schedule your reset like your success depends on it, because it does. Thank you for tuning in to the Mindset Manual with me, Myron Williams. If this message hit you hard, please like, subscribe, and share this with another entrepreneur who needs this. And as always, stay balanced, stay focused, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Comfort is killing your future, and you probably don't even realize it. It feels safe. It feels earned. It even feels like peace. But what if I told you the very thing you call comfort is the exact reason you're not where you're supposed to be? So the real question is, are you building a life or slowly settling into one?
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
See, comfort doesn't destroy you overnight. It doesn't come loud. It doesn't come aggressive. It comes quietly. It convinces you to wait, to settle, to stop pushing just a little bit earlier than you should. And before you know it, you're stuck living a life that's far below your potential because just comfortable enough to never answer that question. So the real question is, are you building a life or slowly settling into one? Welcome to the Mindset Manual, where we don't just talk about growth, we confront the habits that quietly are holding you back. I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. And today we're exposing the truth about comfort and why it might be the very thing destroying your potential. This is episode 4 of my 8-part series on the harsh truths about success. I want you to follow me on this journey of my real life's experiences by hitting that like and subscribe button right now. I would truly appreciate that. Comfort convinces you there's no urgency. It tells you to start tomorrow, next week, or next year. But time keeps moving. Growth requires pressure and challenge. So as you move forward from this, I really want you to sit and think about this story that I'm about to tell you. It's a real life situation that happened to me, and I want to share it with you. So before I start the story, I want you to think about this. Where in your life have you chosen to be comfortable over growth? That's a big question. Where have you chosen to be comfortable over growth? So I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've done many businesses. I've ran many different types of businesses. I've always had that entrepreneur style since I was a kid, 16 years old. All I ever wanted to be was a businessman. That's all I talked about when I was little. I'm going to be a businessman. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad had a gas station and my mom was a hairstylist. So they instilled that entrepreneurial drive into me at a very young age. I think I was like 16. I had a lawn service and a mobile detailing service at the same time. So I would cut your grass and I would also wash your car after I finished cutting your grass. And, I had a couple of friends that joined me. I was doing very well with that. So that's just an example of how long I've been doing this entrepreneurial thing. I'm 50 now, and I've started, like I said, many businesses. And if you listen to some of my stories on this podcast, you'll see some of the different things I talk about, some of the different ventures I've been into, successful ventures and some not so successful, but I kept going. I never got comfortable with a loss or a win. I always just kept moving and kept going. And that's what I want to talk about today. It's just being comfortable and not reaching your full potential. And it happens to the best of us. You could be doing well on your job or in a great position on your job and decide that, well, I'm in a good position. I'm not going to try to work harder and advance. Why not? You have, breath in your lungs and your feet work, your legs work, your mind works, keep advancing. Now, if you're making 7 figures or more a year and you're just, very content being the boss of where you are, that's fine. You can be comfortable in that. But if you're in a grind set mind state where you're like, I'm not making enough, you're barely going check to check, or, have a few checks stacked up, but any little mistake or misstep in life could set you all the way back. You can't be in that comfort zone. You always got to be thinking ahead. Now, I'm not saying to be out of control and not having any peace and balance in your life. I'm just saying you need to be trying to move forward. You can't just sit around and say, well, I'm making X amount of dollars an hour, so that's good for my field, and I'm just going to ride with that. No, that's not the way to do it. You need to be pursuing leveling up every way. If, say, you have a business and your business is doing okay, you have maybe just say A barbershop. Let's just say something simple, or a beauty shop. You have that. And it's just you and one or two employees in that barbershop or beauty shop, right? But you guys are busy. You're always busy. Why not expand, open up more booths for your barbers or your beauticians so you can have more paying you booth rent? If that's maxed out, why not open a second location? Why stick to that first location when you can have multiple locations going at the same time and have additional revenue coming in off of less work from you? So that's getting outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, your business is doing well, but why not move to another level by opening up more, bringing in more people, and getting outside of your comfort zone and seeing the benefits that can come from that? I remember probably 18, 20 years ago, I had a tax, accounting, and bookkeeping business. That's what I went to college for, was accounting and bookkeeping. So it was kind of a passion of mine. So I started a firm. It was before the Great Recession back in the Bush era where everything went to crashing and stuff like that. But I had this firm and it was doing well. It was doing really well. And to the point that I had opened up multiple locations, like 3 locations. And I was still aggressive in my mind, like, oh, I'm really doing well. I had, around 15 employees, I think at that time, around 15 employees, and the business was doing well. And I was looking at other opportunities, right? But, because the business was doing well, but I was in a relationship and she was kind of on my back about how much time I was spending, between the locations and things like that. And I was saying, well, I'm going to be spending a little bit more time in between the locations because I plan on opening up 2 more locations next year. And I've, have found the locations. And so for me, I had the aggression and the desire and the drive to open up more locations. But the person that was my significant other, she was kind of holding me back. She was comfortable. We had a nice house. We had nice cars. We did a lot of nice things and went to events and travel. So she was comfortable where we were. Mind you, I was 30 years old at the time. I'm 50 now. I was 30, and there's no way I was going to be comfortable at 30, just, making what we were making, which was cool. We had a nice house, a nice neighborhood and stuff like that, but it was still an opportunity for me to get to another level. And she didn't want to get to that level. She wanted to stay in the level that we were. So sometimes the person that's with you can be comfortable and you're not, but that creates conflict in your household. And that's a tricky situation when you want to go forward, but the person you're with is good right here, but you want to go up, but they're good right here. It's going to create conflict, and it's a hard thing to handle. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist, so I can't give you advice on how to handle that, but you have to dig deep, have conversations with them like I did with her. She was very strong about her feelings about me not growing, stuck with it for a while, for us just staying in that comfort zone with her and just trying to enjoy life with her. But when that relationship was over, the first thing I did was open up. Instead of 2 more locations, I opened up 3 or 4 more locations. And that 3 or 4 turned to 10, which turned to eventually 15 locations at one time, because I didn't have that person with me anymore to keep me in that comfort zone. Now I was all about pursuing my dreams and going to the next level. And that has to be you. You have to step outside your comfort zone if you really want to get to the next level. If you see that person over there doing well and you're like, wow, they're riding in this nice car, or they have this nice house, or they're doing this, or you're at the basketball game or the football game, you see them, at the lower seats or on the floor or on the field or whatever. And you're wondering, like, how did they get there? Maybe those people are working really hard. They step outside of their comforts to get to that level. And that's what you have to do. Step outside your comfort zone if you want to get to that level. I've done it and I continue to do it. Even though I'm successful where I am right now, I'm doing this podcast. I'm trying to help people level up. I'm not comfortable enough to just sit here and say, well, I'm not going to do more. I've made my success. I've done businesses and been successful. I'm not going to keep it to myself, stepping outside of my comfort zone, sharing it with people like yourself so you can level up and you can get to the place like someone like me. That's me stepping out of my comfort zone. I don't have to do that. I'm very comfortable where I am, but I want to do more. I want other people to come up and learn from someone like me who's been a lifetime entrepreneur. So when you're trying to build a business, if you're thinking about building a business, I should say, there's going to be some discomfort, both thinking about it, because now you're like, I don't know if I want to leave my job and do this. Or if you've just started a business, you're going to have those days where you're like, I shouldn't have left my job. I should have just kept my job. You want to quit. I want to be honest. I've had at least 10 businesses over the last 30 years, at least 10 different businesses. And most of them were successful. I'll say maybe 2 of them didn't do well, but most of the other ones did very well. But I will say out of all those businesses, not a single one of those businesses that I did not want to give up at some point because it was hard or, something didn't go right or I lost some money on this or whatnot. So I've always had a moment where like, man, I want to give up. This is not going to work. But you can't. You got to keep going. You keep going. You can't go back to, oh, I'm just going to go back to my comfort job and do that again. And I'll just keep doing that till I die. You got to step away from that. I know it feels comfortable, but it doesn't get you outside of the box. It doesn't get you that bigger house that you want. It doesn't get you that vacation across the world that you want to take. It doesn't get your kids in that private school that you want to do or that yacht that you wanted to buy or a boat or whatever. It doesn't get you there because you're stuck in your comfort zone and you have to get out of your comfort zone to get those things and achieve greatness and bigger things. Starting a business is hard. There's going to be a lot. You're going to be way out of your comfort zone. You're going to, there's no sleep pattern. There's no consistent schedule when you're running a business. There's going to be a lot of things that affect your comfort, but it's time to get uncomfortable to be successful. And that's very important in this business or in this mindset. You have to get uncomfortable to get to the next level of being comfortable. And it takes work. It takes discipline. The motivation when you first start a business, yeah, you're super motivated. But when you start losing clients or the marketing isn't going well, then it gets uncomfortable. But you have to keep going. The discipline to keep going will get you to a level where you will grow and be like, okay, I can take some days off. I can take that vacation now because now I'm doing well. Yeah. So I'll tell you another story about wasn't my story as a friend of mine, but it involved me because he ended up staying at my house during this uncomfortable period for him. He had a job offer in the city where I am. And, he was like, man, I love my city where I am. And, I got my family here, my kids are in schools and all of this stuff, but, I don't want to leave here, but I'm like, hey man, the money that they're offering you is significantly more than what you're making right now. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get a position like this to open up in your field. Let's just say I don't want to put his business out there. He was making, $120,000 a year at that time. Well, the job that they were offering was for $220,000 for the same work. I mean, he would level up a little bit and have some teammates up under him, but it was a significant amount of money, and he was like about to not accept that because it was going to be a big transition. He was going to get way out of his comfort zone. His family was going to have to stay where they were for a while so the kids could finish up, that year in school. His wife worked somewhere. She will have to find a new position. They will have to find a new house and all of that. So it's going to be an uncomfortable period. But the leveling up process of taking that chance was so great. I'm like, you cannot pass this up. So I let him come stay in my home with me and my family till he can find the right place for him and get settled and learn the city and things like that. because he needed to get out of that comfort zone. And I gave him some comfort by giving him a place to stay, a safe place to stay with somebody that he knows and trusts, and he could still, have the family around him. But that's another situation where I'm saying people let opportunities pass them by because they don't want to get outside their comfort zone. Even for more money, they don't want to get outside of their comfort zone. And that's a mistake. That's a big mistake. Opportunities are out there, and it's those that go and take those chances and get outside their comfort zone. Those are the people that actually do well. So, you have to think about all these things. It's your life. And when opportunities come, you have to step outside of that comfort zone so you can grow and get to the next level. So, that was just one of the stories, but it's many, many opportunities, or many, I should say, that was just one of the stories. But there's, I have a ton of different stories I could tell you about, comfort and, some of my friends not want to get out of their comfort zone. I've offered them opportunities to start businesses. I would help them start a business and partner with them and mentor them and help them get to the level, but they didn't want to, leave their comfort zone of their job. They didn't want to, get off the insurance from the job or get off the pension or whatever it was that doesn't come with being an entrepreneur. They didn't want to, pursue it, even though they had the skills to run their own tech business or run their own, computer business or run their own, car business or whatever. They had the skill set to do it, but they just weren't willing to go out on a limb to do it. So it's just life, man. You just have to just step outside of your comfort zone, because that's what's holding you back. You sit back and think about, all the chances that you had that you didn't pursue. What was it? What was the true reason that you didn't pursue it? What was it? Was it comfort? What was it? Most of the time it is, you don't want to step out of your comfort zone. So as you move forward from this, I really do want you to think about this question. Where in your life have you chosen comfort over growth? Because comfort will protect you today. It will keep things easy, predictable, safe, but over time, it starts to cost you. It costs you discipline. It costs you momentum. And eventually, it costs you the life you are capable of living. So don't just chase what feels good. Start chasing what makes you better. Because at the end of the day, comfort protects today, but it can quietly steal tomorrow. If this message hits you hard, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. And as always, I thank you for tuning in to the Mindset Manual with me, Myron Williams. Stay balanced, stay focused, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Sometimes the biggest limitation in your life is the environment you're standing in. But she's my bestie. She has my back. On one hand, she does, but when it comes to leveling up or growing, she wants you to stay right there, neck and neck with her. Don't believe me? Just look at your circle and see who stands above the rest. If you're here, then it's probably not you.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Welcome to the Mindset Manual, the place where we talk about the hard truths that most people avoid, but the truths that can actually change your life. I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. And today we're talking about one of the harsh truths about success. This is episode 3 of my 8-part series on the harsh truths about success. Thank you for joining me as I give my real life testimony on entrepreneurships and strengthening your emotional intelligence to handle any situation. We grew up with friends and made great memories, but growth changes priorities. Not everyone grows in the same direction. Some circles revolve around complaining, blaming, and avoiding responsibility. Your environment shapes your thinking, and your thinking shapes your life. I want to talk about a thing that happens to most of us in life. We never want to outshine our circle. We always want to stay close to our friends, and everybody comes up at the same time. Everybody, is living kind of around the same level. In reality, That's not how it's supposed to be. Some people are just going to be more successful than others. It's the ones that decide to step away from the pack that actually makes it to the next level. The ones that stay in the horde and stay in the circle, everybody stays the same. Nobody goes and levels up. It's that one that stays in the lab, or if they're an athlete, stays in the gym or stay working on their craft that outshines the next person. That should be you. Don't let your circle hold you back. I want to share my journey with you. I'm going to tell you a couple stories about things that I've experienced with my friends, family, significant others, and my circle that held me back. Well, I learned later in life that it was holding me back. At the time, it didn't seem like it. I had a tax office. No, actually, I had 3 tax offices at the time. And I was dating someone. I started dating someone. I already had the offices before we met, and I was already doing really well. And we had been dating for a little while, and it was coming up on, say, 7, 8 months we had been dating. And I was telling her, I'm thinking about opening up some more offices. My other 3 offices are doing really well. I saw some locations that I like, and I think that I'm gonna open up some more locations. So her response was not what I was expecting. She was like, "You're gonna open up more locations. You're gonna stress yourself out. You're gonna be away from the house more. That's you. I mean, you're doing really well right now. Why do you need more locations?" So I'm thinking like, well, we're in a relationship. I'm trying to level up so we can buy nicer things and have more fun and travel. But her thing was, no, she just wanted me to continue where I was, stay on the road that I was on, and just have our relationship. But I'm thinking I was like maybe like 30 years old at the time, full of energy, full of life, full of ambition. Why would not go for it? This is the perfect time to go for it. No kids or nothing like that. It's time for me to go for it. But she didn't see it that way. She felt like I was doing too much. At the time, I felt some kind of way, but I was in a relationship. I was doing well. So I was kind of comfortable, but I really wanted to open up those locations. I had scouted a place and everything, but I ended up just passing on that. I didn't do it. But later, when the season started, that tax season started, I rolled by those locations that I had scouted, and turned out somebody had put what? Tax offices in there. That really got me to thinking, man, I had a great idea. I had a plan, but I let my girlfriend at the time talk me out of doing it. You know how that sting. You know how that sting a little bit. You know that. But what I'm saying is that happens to a lot of us. Our significant other holds us back from an idea that we have. Oh, you don't need to do that. You're going to lose your insurance. You need to stay on your job. You don't need to do that. You can't invest our money into that. It's always something that you have to hear to keep you from going forward. Now, I'm not telling you, I don't want you to say, I'm not a relationship counselor, so I don't want you to get a divorce or break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend because of what I'm saying. I'm just sharing my story of what happened to me, and it ended up turning out great for me. I ended that relationship. I moved on, opened up 10 tax offices, did great, ended up selling those offices off, making a ton of money doing it. So that's my story. So my point of this story is just to tell you that even your relationships can hold you back if you and the person aren't on the same page. Now, let me tell you about some other stuff. How your circle can hold you back, like your friends. You know how you don't want to outshine your circle. You don't want to be above them. You kind of, want to stay the same, but you think that you're doing them a favor by staying where you are. And in reality, they're keeping you right where they want you to be. Have you ever noticed every time you give them an idea or share an idea with them, they give you the negative side of what can happen if it doesn't work? You're going to lose your money. You're going to waste a lot of time. This is going to work, going to fail. Instead of saying, yeah, do it, go for it. Most circles don't do that. Most friend groups don't do that. That's just not how they are. But a real friend will get behind you. A real friend will invest in that business. A real friend will come work in that business with you, market that business for you. That's what a real friend would do. But how many friends in your group do you have that do that? They watch from the outside, but they're not going to be in there in the trenches with you. They're not going to help you out. They're just waiting on you to fail because they want you to stay right there where you are. But you have to define yourself from that group. Step aside, step above, rise above the group. They stay down here, you rise up here. If they want to meet you here, You can't come down there. They got to come on up to your level. You're not coming down to them because you lose at that point. You're going in reverse when you're going down. So they got to come up to your level. I know it's hard to do. I know it's hard to change your circles and change your friends and stuff like that. It hurts, but you have to do it. It's the reality. I can go back to when I was 21 years old. Some of my friends from high school, we came up together, and we moved to the same city after high school. We came to the same city, went to college. We remained friends. I remember we'd go out, we partied, we had a great time. All of us young men, we had ambition, but we didn't have a career or know what we were doing yet. We were just living our life. But as time goes on, we turned 30, I had started separating myself from the pack. I was leveling up. I had bought a nice house. I had a couple nice cars. Some of my friends were, just still in college or still going back to college, trying to figure out what they want to do. They weren't there yet. So the things that I was talking about and wanted to do, they weren't able to do. They couldn't travel with me. They couldn't see the things that I saw in life or purchase the things that I was buying in life because they weren't on my level. And that, them not being on my level, eventually from year after year, I remained friends with them. Things were good sometimes and things you could tell they weren't really good. They weren't really happy for me. But when you're successful, you overlook a lot of the stuff that's kind of below you. You don't really see it that way because when you're moving fast and doing good, that's all you see is good. You don't really think about the bad that, the hate or the disrespect or people are disguising in their joke. It's like a joke, but it's actually very disrespectful to you. You kind of overlook that stuff because you're beyond that. You're above that. But in reality, as time goes on, you're 30, you turn 40. I'm 50 now. Those things, they don't sit well with me. Those circles, I'm not in those circles anymore because eventually you learn that circle was really just holding you back. They still are where they were when they were 25. You're on a whole nother level. And if you want to get to a whole nother level, if you're 25 right now or 30 right now, or even 40 right now, even 50 right now, if you look at that circle that you've been with for a long time and everybody's on the same level, maybe it's time to make some new connections. Maybe it's time to start having some better conversations or some new conversations with some people that are on your level and trying to see the world and do bigger things and do big entrepreneurial things. You got to step away from that. I'm not telling you today, hey, cut off your friends, cut off your circle. I'm not telling you that at all. I'm just telling you to do an inventory of your circle and your friends and the people around you and see, are they helping you? Are they giving you the same energy that you're giving them? Do you give them more love than they give you? Do you support their ideas or their stuff that they're doing, sharing their stuff on social media or talking it up? They do the same for you. Just do an inventory on it and think about it and move from that point. I promise you, you'll see some things that you probably felt, but you never did anything about. You'll see it a lot more clear now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Sometimes, growth just requires new conversations. If you stay in the same circle, stay having the same conversations with the same old people, you're going to get the same old result. You want to level up, you got to venture out. You got to meet some new people, get some new connections, have some new conversations about new things, open your mind up, open your thinking up to other opportunities and other ways that people think. That's what you got to do. If you really want to get to the next level in this thing, like I said, if you're 30, you're 40, you're figuring it out, hey, it's time to change your way of thinking to get to the next level. Thank you for watching and sharing this journey with me on the Mindset Manual. If you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, I appreciate you clapping for me by doing so right now. If you know somebody that needs to hear my testimony, send them a link to the channel so they can join the family. Be sure to join me next week for part 4 of this 8-part series. Next week, we're talking about, is your comfort destroying your potential? It's going to be a great episode. But until then, I want you to stay focused, stay balanced, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself and some of the things that I've done in my life to become the person I am today. My friends will always say to me, man, you seem like you have it all together. You have all these different businesses. We know you always doing this and that, and you have these businesses that are successful on so many different levels. How do you do all these things and still have time to hang out with us and go out with us and go to the basketball games and kick it with your kids? And you never seem stressed and you never complain. I never hear you talk about, oh, I had a bad day or this and that about work or nothing. You always just very balanced. How do you do it? You must have a secret twin or twin brother that we haven't met or something like that, man. How are you able to do all these different things, man, and still live your life and be comfortable? And I tell them, just like I tell you guys on this podcast, man, it's about discipline and being organized, which I'll talk about organization on one of my future episodes coming up really soon. But it's about that discipline and being organized. And that's how I'm able to look like, it's just natural. And I don't seem stressed because I'm super organized every single day. I have my tasks. I write out my tasks on a sheet of paper, and I have my task board that I use with TaxApp, which is one of our partners. If you haven't checked out TaxApp, make sure you check out TaxApp. I'll put the link in the description for you. But they have a really good task board. So I write down some of my tasks and I put some on the TaxApp task board. But the secret to that, writing out tasks, you can write out tasks for a whole month. Anybody can do that. Yeah, I want to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this and make a list for the whole month. Yeah, we do that. I do that as well. I'll write out all my tasks. I'll put them on the task board for the whole month. All these are really just ideas. They're not really tasks. They're more so like, I want to increase my marketing. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'll put all those on a big, long running list that never ends, right? But that's not my daily task list. Those are just ideas and things that I plan to accomplish for my business over time. But I'll do a weekly task list and I'll break those down into daily tasks. So on Monday, I have a few tasks that I want to accomplish. I may have a couple meetings sprinkled in those tasks, but the secret to that is I never overload a day. I put just enough in there to keep me busy for the 4 to 5 hours a day that I want to work, because I don't work full 8-hour days. I rarely give it an 8-hour day. That's just not who I am. I'm not a 9 to 5 type of guy. I pretty much break my days down into about 4 to 5. I'm in my office. I'm giving it everything for those 4 hours. I don't get up. I only get up to stretch, and I have a sit to stand desk. So I'll press the button, the desk will go up, and I'll stand and stretch, and I'll continue working. So I'm locked in for those hours. I'm very productive during that 4-hour span. But occasionally, some days, a task on my list for Monday is going to not get done Monday. So what I do, I don't stress. I don't press the day and it's like, oh, I'm going to add more time onto my day. I'll just make that task the first task for the next day. So that'll be the first thing I do Tuesday. I'll start there and I'll work through that Monday stuff that I left off, and I'll finish my Tuesday. That way I don't get overwhelmed. I don't get burnt out by trying to put too many things on one day, knowing I can't finish them. I give myself that respect to knowing how much I'm capable to doing in that day before I burn out. Because like I said, I'm working really hard during those 4 hours. I'm not playing around. I'm not messing around. I'm not straying from my task and my plan for the day. I'm really focused. That's how I can do that. And then I'll move on to the next day. And I never jump ahead. If I finish all my tasks for Monday, I don't jump into Tuesday or jump into Wednesday. I leave Tuesday at Tuesday, Wednesday at Wednesday. That's how I do. That's what it is. I've done what I needed to do today. I clap for myself for completing my task for the day, and I shut it down and I go ahead and live my life, go play with my kids or go to the park or do whatever I like to do for myself for that day, because I've completed my task for that day and I'm not thinking about tomorrow until I get in the office for tomorrow. And that's how I function. And that's how you should function, because you got to keep your peace and your balance. And that's part of the emotional intelligence that I'm telling you that I talk about on these episodes. All these things contribute to that. Your mental health, your balance, your work, your family, all of that stuff contributes to it. And it gets hard, but you have to focus on these things to be successful. So that's what I tell my friends. This is how I succeed. This is how I'm able to wear a lot of hats in my business, is because I do a lot. In the 4 or 5 hours that I'm working, I'm doing a lot. I'm very disciplined. I'm very organized, and I stick to it. And I stick to my goal. I stick to my task, and I finish whatever it is I set up that I'm going to do in my business. I always see it through.